Thank you so much for allowing me to present at the conference online. And hopefully next time I can be there. And because I've been wanting to come back to the UK and present at one of your conferences for a long time, but finally I thought I had the opportunity after the pandemic and everything, but here we are, I'm online again. Oh, well. Okay. Hope you can see that okay. So a few years ago, I was inspired to actually bring in some information about how in Touch for Health or any kind of muscle testing, how we can correct the muscles with chakras, because we know traditionally in kinesiology, the whole basis of kinesiology was founded when George Goodhart connected muscle tests to meridians. And back in 2005, there was a conference in North Carolina in the States. It was actually John T's last conference, and it was a big conference, and George Goodhart was there, and he made a presentation, and I was very fortunate enough to watch his presentation. And I have to say, I was so honored he attended my presentation too, which blew me away. And where he talked about how he came about it. And this has become the whole basis of what they call I guess in America, they call it energy kinesiology, or whatever form we want to call kinesiology. It's become the basis of what we know of all forms of kinesiology is the muscle test meridian connection. And I know from many years, people have always said, well, why aren't we using chakras? And then finally, I was probably about 15 years ago, I started doing the connections of correcting muscle tests with chakras. And so I started to do that. And I think 5 years ago, I did this presentation in the Touch for Health conference in Malibu in California, USA. And so now what I wanted to do was share that with you. And I've actually got the video of that conference, so I can show you the video of the demonstration, because it's actually an interactive demonstration where, like part of it, I wanted to get all of you to try to do that. So first of all, let's look at the chakras. And this is in Spanish. My heritage is from Ecuador, so I'm fluent in Spanish, but the chakras, and this is one of the best pictures I've seen of chakras. I think it's from Barbara Ann Brennan's book, Hands of Light, where you can see chakras have a front and a back. And this is important because it helps us understand, if we're going to correct a chakra at the front of the back, how we can interpret the information. Because I think one of the most powerful things we have in kinesiology when you're working with a muscle test and a meridian is exploring the emotions of the meridian that come with the muscle imbalance. The other important connection that I found was from a book by the Chakras, called The Chakras by Leadbeater, which is from the Theosophical Society. And this book is well over 100 years old. And they were based in Madras in India. And I spent 3 years living in India, which was, that was like 30 years ago. I won't tell you how old I am. But I really found it was really cool picture, because it shows you the connections with the chakras and the nerve plexes. And this was important, going back in maybe about 25 years ago, when we started writing Chakra Hologram course with Kerry McFarlane. one of the things she put in there was the nerve plexus connection to the meridians. And so that was the first place it appeared, but it was really more like when you're working with a chakra, oh, what muscle tests can you add in? But here I kind of flipped it and I said, well, if I'm working with a muscle, what chakra is connected? So the nerves are part of the peripheral nervous system, and that has 4 components. You've got the sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, somatosensory nervous system, and the motor nervous system. And so specifically, the motor nervous system is the nervous system that contracts our muscles. So when we do muscle testing, we're actually working, because a muscle test is a neurological event. And so we are working with the motor nervous system. And when we have stress in our system, the stress neurologically can manifest into our muscles. This is just a picture of it. You all probably have seen something like this before, but what you'll see here is you've got the motor neurons or down in the spinal cord, and they innervate the muscle. And this is the somatosensory system, which you can get a reflex going through there. But specifically when we're doing a muscle test, neurologically, it's connected with the central nervous system, and you have the nerve here. So what you have is if you go back and look at this picture, if the chakra is affecting a nerve, then it must affect a muscle as well, because the nerves go to the muscles. Important about the front and the back I mentioned before, and this comes from a modification of the ideas of Kerry McFarlane, the co-author of Chakra Hologram 1, and that is the front of the chakra is about your internal world. So this is the internal emotional processing that you have inside of you. So if you're feeling sad, you have all this processing of, I feel sad inside of you. Whereas the back is the external world where you have the things going on around you, like, for instance, the situation you're in, or, what situation you find yourself in, the people, like constellations. Some people like to do the family constellation work. This would be the external world, because it's the dynamic of the external forces, how they're affecting you. So if you're feeling sad, the internal world is how you feel sad with inside you, and the external world is a situation that, like, you manifest yourself into. Okay. The other important thing to consider about chakras is the yin and yang aspect of a chakra. I remember when I first started developing the chakra hologram formatting system, I said yin and yang aspect, but I had no idea what they meant. But then when you understand what chakras are, like commonly people will say, if you ask someone what a chakra is, people will say things like, oh, it's an energy center or a spinning disc. The word chakra actually is a Sanskrit word that means spinning disc. So what it means is you have the yin aspect is they are energy centers, but what they are is how you exchange energy with the world. So for instance, you have the ability to receive energy from people. So like, say if you're talking to someone right now, where I'm communicating to you, right, and you're receiving my communication. So communication is a function of the throat chakra. So the yin aspect of the throat chakra is how you understand what people are communicating to you. And then the yang aspect is how you give that energy. So it's how you express your communication. So on the ideas that I have that I want to communicate to you now, if I don't do it correctly, it'll come out as mumbo jumbo, and I won't express myself in a clear, concise manner. But when my throat chakra yang aspect is balanced, I will express myself to you in a clear and concise manner. And so this is the yin and yang aspects of the chakras. So understanding that the chakras have a chakra-nerve relationship, then what we did is in the NK system is we made this little table, and it is about, and this comes from the Theosophical Society, and Kerry put a lot of this stuff together back in the day, and it shows you the actual nerve chakra relationship. So if you look at this table, you've got the brow chakra is associated with the cranial nerves. And so all muscles that are innervated by cranial nerves are actually connected to the brow chakra. So this is things like your eye muscles, which is the oculomotor nerve, abducens nerve, trochlear nerve. You've got your jaw muscles, which is the trigeminal nerve. You've got your face muscles, which is the facial nerve. You've got your tongue muscles, which is the hypoglossal nerve. The vagus nerve operates a lot of muscles, allowing you to swallow and stuff. It actually has a motor component as well as the parasympathetic part to it. So, you know, you get a lot of different muscles operated by the cranial nerves, and normally we might consider that they're involved with different meridians. They all have a meridian relationship, but they also have a chakra relationship. Okay. Then you've got the cervical nerves are connected to the throat chakra. So these are a lot of your muscles in the upper body, say might be your, for example, pectoralis major clavicular, PMC, is innervated by some cervical nerves. So that we know that for its classic in kinesiology, it's connected to the stomach meridian. So if it shows and we correct it with the stomach meridian, typically we'll look for stomach meridian emotions to connect with it. But it's also connected to the throat chakra. So if we have to correct the PMC with the throat chakra, we would start looking at issues around communication with it. And so this is where the difference is, or the where it's completely fits in with that. We know that the throat chakra is, you know, that we could correct it with the throat chakra. So we'd look at communication issues rather than stomach issues. Then you've got the heart chakra is connected to the upper thoracic nerves there, C8 to T4. Solar plexus chakra is lower thoracic, T5 to T12. Sacral chakra is connected to L1 and L4, and the base chakra is connected to L5 to S5. So understanding this relationship between nerves and muscles, we are able to, you know, check chakras when we're working with the muscle, as long as we understand what nerves innervate the muscle. And I have put a little table there in the notes there that with the Touch for Health. But before we go there and look at it, what I want to do is look at the chakra issues. And so here we've got some of the issues of the 6 chakras there, innervating the muscles. So this is important to understand, because, you know, it's these issues that we will need to apply to the to this. So we have, for example, base chakra. And so the base chakra is really the tribal chakra. You know, like I've worked a lot on animals, and often they have a base chakra issues because, you know, when you work with animals, they often work with in packs or herds. I remember my ex-partner had a horse, and every time I did kinesiology on it, it would always balance its base chakra, because this horse was never allowed to roam in a herd of horses, or whatever you say, and it would always have stress around that. But it's so for humans, it's about our community. So, things like we have community, the family unit, and your career. What is your job? What is your identity? And this is often to do, with your career is how you make money. And so money is definitely in the earth element, and base chakra is considered, if you look in the Indian philosophy, it has the earth element associated with it. And so this is the ability, when it's in harmony and you're living in abundance, your base chakra is very very associated or balanced. And also it's about who are you, and that is, who are you as the I am, or we might call it the ego. And so the base chakra is very important around that. And so this is, for example, like, I am Hugo Tobar, Ecuadorian father, Australian mother, born in the United States, grew up in Australia. I'm a kinesiologist. My favorite hobby is to go skiing. And I loved and travel as well. I've always been a traveler. In fact, when I was 2 weeks old, my parents went from America to Ecuador. And then when I was 1, I went to Australia with my mother after they separated. And so I've always traveled a lot my whole life. And so this is what this is about, the identity of who you are in the world. So when you have it in harmony, you understand who you are, you can express who you are. That's your yang about you. But, chakras are about interaction. Like, we don't sit in little boxes. We are, as part of our humanness, we interact with other people. Like we're interacting now, and like how you understand someone else, where they're coming from, who their identity is the yin aspect of it. So if you don't get other people, you're blocked from that. And that's understanding the imbalances in the chakras. And, we're not so much going around balancing chakras now, but certainly we want to understand the yin and yang aspects of it, because it helps when you do that, you really help frame the person's issue. And I'm sure all of you, as professional kinesiologists, when you've been working with people, what you do is you always, you might find some imbalance, you find an emotion. And how many times have you found an emotion and it's just really changed someone's life, And so all we're going to do now is, when you're working with chakras, you're going to use the chakras to help find that, to help someone understand their issue on a deeper process, And I've always said we don't heal anyone. People heal themselves. We just facilitate or make a space available for them so they can heal themselves. And also about your career. I mean, have you had a time in your life where you didn't know what to do, or you were in a job that you found really boring, like you're going, oh, I don't like to do this. You might be making a lot of money, and then you discover kinesiology, you go, I want to be a kinesiologist. So that drive for you to be a kinesiologist is actually part of the base chakra with career. So, and obviously you want it to be successful. Like if you've got your career and you're not making enough money to make ends meet, that's your base chakra. Go get your base chakra balanced and find out what the blocks are, which is beyond the issues that we have here. Family dynamics. I mean, how many people have got difficult families? Me. I've got my father's side of the family, all Latinos in Ecuador. You can imagine, I mean, they're spread all over the world now, but, he was one of 9 children. And so I can't, and the youngest. So, I don't know how many cousins I've got, but it's interesting some of the stress that comes in family dynamics. And it could even be with siblings, your parents, your children, or extended family like cousins, uncles, and aunts, and things like this. I mean, what stresses do you have in your family life? And I remember, like I was fortunate enough, back early when I was a student to have seen John T. He came to Australia and presented at our college. And, he was amazing to watch, John. I don't know how many of you actually saw him in person. And he used to always say, you can't change anyone else. You can only change yourself. And that is just so true. It's just words of wisdom from the great master who, to be honest, if it wasn't for him, none of us would be here today. I'd be doing something else, probably still be an engineer or something like that. Okay, so that's the base chakra. So then we've got the sacral chakra. And so, often we think about the sacral chakra about sex. And yes, it is about sex. Are you comfortable with your sexuality? Do you enjoy it? But it's also about creativity, like that real creative thing. Like I had a client once and she was very frustrated, like her husband wasn't up to the task, and that for her, like she was unsatisfied in, sexually in her relationship. And so she was painting paintings, and so she used to express her sacral chakra in that way. But, after a garage full of paintings, in the end, she had to go find a new husband because that didn't work for her in the end, But it's also about having pleasure, like going down, have a cup of coffee or going down the pub with your mates or something and enjoying that with some people. That is also the sacral chakra, just really having a good time, just enjoying yourself and not trying to control other people, how they have fun. I remember my poor oldest son, I pick on him sometimes, but when he was a little boy and he'd invite his friends over, he used to try and control everything about the games they would play, and they didn't enjoy it. And, I used to watch it. I thought, oh, he's going to need his sacral chakra balance when he grows up. But, that's how it is. So when it's over energy, it's obsessive and it's, overbearing. And if it's under energy, you just don't have a good time, or you don't enjoy sex, or you can't express it, or you have no sexual desire, like sometimes in relationships, the sex can go out, and, sex is a healthy part of any relationship, Solar plexus chakra. So this is about personal power. And often you find this one, I mean, this is probably the most imbalanced chakra you find. And, but, one thing I learned over the years is that, when you're empowered, you are not threatened by someone else in their power. Some people are threatened by other people being empowered. And certainly you find this across classes, there's been times where, so if you go back before where women were disempowered, still in some cultures they're disempowered, or anyone in a relationship, there's a power imbalance, or, or you've got no self-esteem. And so you'll have friendships that people are just using you. I remember I had one client, every single one of her friends was using her. And when she started standing in their power, she lost all these friendships because it didn't work for them. They just wanted someone they could use as a doormat. And I don't know if you've ever had that experience with any of your clients or yourself or what, but, so that's why I always say, for me, the key word of the solar plexus chakra is respect, because when two people stand in their power, there's mutual respect between them. And that's how it should be in friendships, relationships, and whatever kind of relationship they are. They could be an intimate one, it could be a work one, it could be in the family. And, I remember in my family, my father was impossible. I mean, he just would ride roughshod over everyone. And, You just had to like really build up a defense around it, and some people could not cope with it. Like, I know my sister-in-law never went there for like 10 years because she could not cope with that, So the heart chakra is about unconditional love. And so have you ever heard the statement, I love you, but if you did this, I would love you more? It's like, no, it's like there's no buts with unconditional love. So when you love someone unconditionally, you accept them for who they are, and that's it. Then you've got the throat chakra, and this is about communication. And the yin aspect is about listening. Do you actually hear what people say to you? How many times have you been speaking to someone, they just don't really hear what you're saying? You say it over and over again, and they just don't hear you. And you've got, but also it's about being able to say what it is you need to say. So then you've got the brow chakra. Oh, this is always a good one. This is about wisdom, learning and teaching. I mean, we're all learning and we're all teaching each other. Today I might teach you something today, hopefully, and I have a lesson for you. Can you receive it? Can you learn it? And often in people in school and that, but we're all lifelong learners and we're all lifelong teachers. We're all learning and teaching each other. So it's about wisdom and perception, And I remember when I was living in India 30 years ago, I ended it. I went and did Vipassana meditation, a 10-day retreat. I don't know if anyone's ever done that with Goenka. And they play videos of Goenka. And he's talking about the 3 levels of wisdom, which was very interesting. First is devotional wisdom. I believe something because so-and-so said it. So, for instance, you could say, I believe this stuff about chakras because Hugo said it, and Hugo's an international teacher. He's Australian. And, because he said it, I believe it. Then there's the intellectual wisdom where you can like understand it because you can go through all the lessons and you understand why it is so. So you can say, oh yeah, I believe this stuff about chakras because, the way Hugo explained it connected to the muscles and the nerves and everything, that makes sense. Then there's the 3rd level, which is experiential wisdom, is that you understand something is true because it's been your experience. Or the best way to teach is to teach by experience. And I remember one of my teachers, she was more of a spiritual teacher, and she used to sit there and tell story after story after story about her life. And then someone came in and said, all you do is tell stories. This is what my other teacher did. They just told stories. And she goes, yeah, what else is new? And then it wasn't years later when I understood this about wisdom. She was teaching us through her experience, which is the best way you could do because, I've had this experience, maybe you can learn from it. So that's what the brow chakra is. Anyway, so understanding this kind of thing, what we can do is we can utilize this in that way. So here you've got the 14 muscles from Touch for Health 1. I'm just going to do that. You've got the muscle here, the meridian associated with it, the nerves, and then the chakras associated with it. And so the easiest way to do it, and I will stop the share. Hopefully you've got me pinned so you can see me big on the screen and not like the 2, is just to use the hand over the chakra while you're testing it. So what's an easy one? Anterior deltoid. So anterior deltoid is gallbladder meridian. So we use gallbladder emotions, which from memory are things like rage and stuff like this. But it's also innervated by the nerves C5 and C6, which are connected to the throat chakra. So if you test your anterior deltoid and it tests weak, then you put your hand in the throat chakra and it tests strong, then you know that you need to correct the throat chakra. So, so you could just and you can test front and back of the throat chakra. Like I put that picture showing the front and back of the chakras. And so if the back shows, it's more the external world, like the situation the person's in, or if the front shows, which is usually the more common, it's more to do with how they're perceiving things within themselves, like how they're doing that. And the throat chakra's been communication issues. It could be like, I feel like I'm not being heard. I'm speaking, I can't express myself properly. I'm having trouble what other people are saying, understanding or hearing what people are saying to me, or I'm overanalyzing what people are saying to me is another issue of the throat chakra. So once you correct the throat chakra and then it tests strong, then you've made a correction. So what I'm going to do now is what I would have, if I was there, I would do a presentation, a demonstration, I mean. But I did do this in Malibu. And so what I want to do now is, hopefully this is going to work. I am going to play the demonstration because it was video that I did then. This is like almost 5 years ago. And so you can watch that. And then hopefully you've got enough time to practice with the person sitting next to you, because part of it being interactive is my aim was to get people to practice it with each other, And so we'll do the neck because that can be the throat chakra, and there's a number of muscles, and the other issues sound like they're more serious, and I don't want to, because if I start working on that, it could open a can of worms, and I don't want to do that as a demonstration. That's more for something to do, and then I probably need to use some other things as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so what's your name? Yeah. Debbie. Okay, I'm Hugo.
I'm Hugo.
Hello, nice to meet you.
I worked on the journals.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, and where are you from?
I'm from Palmdale, California.
Okay, I've got no idea.
It's north. High desert.
Okay, all right. All right, so let's look at, let's try your supraspinatus muscle test. I'm just gonna, can you hold that? Can you hold that? Okay, you would agree that they're both off, right? So normally what would you do? You would challenge for different corrections, right? So what we want to do, can I use pause lock? Are you okay if I use pause lock? Yeah. Oh, okay. Circuit, retain, CRM. Okay. All right. So what I can do is I can just throat chakra, we've got the front or the back, right? So I can just put that in like this. Hold. Look at that, it's corrected it. Hold. So that corrected it. So if I take it out of my circuit retaining mode, it's off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pulse the chakra. That's all. And so it's the front. So it's the internal world, and it's about communication. Are you listening to what people are saying to you, or are you listening to your inner voice, or do you have problems expressing what it is you need to say?
Sometimes it's problems expressing what I want to say.
Okay, and can you think, does anything come to your mind?
Probably with my husband.
Yeah, probably. It's like, when you're in a relationship, there's the yes that means yes and the yes that means no. And the no that means no and the no that means yes. I think this is probably means it is. What would you reckon? So what can't you say to your husband? Is he here?
No, he's not here.
Well, you never know.
No.
What's his name?
Tom.
Hi, Tom.
What can't I say? Well, our communication is not the same. He'll say something and I hear it differently than what he intends it to be. So
So actually you're misinterpreting what he's saying.
or he's misinterpreting what I'm saying. One of the two.
So communication seems to be a bit of a, it's classic really, And that happens. How long have you been married?
19 years.
Okay. Well, these things happen in long-term relationships, don't they? Okay, so let's see if that's enough. Hold that. And hold that. Good. Well, that wasn't too hard, was it? How's your neck feeling?
Well, I still have something.
Is it?
It's better.
It's better. Well, it's just a,
Quick, yeah.
Let's try another one with throat. Let's try anterior deltoid. Do you get angry or frustrated?
Frustrated sometimes.
Okay, let's try it because it's with the gallbladder. Hold that. And hold that. Okay, so I'm going to put this in front. No. Okay, let's try the back. There you go. It's now the back. So let's put some energy into the back. So now, at the front, it was about how she felt. Now it's the situation. Now it's the actual interactions with your husband. When you misinterpret him, he misinterprets you. You can't say what you need to say, and he's probably not saying what he wants to say, right?
Right.
So it's that situation.
That happens.
Yeah. So, of course you can set this up with goals, and the idea would be to use this in the context of, say, a 14 muscle balance, right? And just using it as a way of correcting. I'm not saying it's the only way, and certainly sometimes you need to do those other techniques, but it gives you an extra correction tool and also a way to interpret what it is and bring out that deeper meaning. How's it feeling?
I feel it useful.
Yeah? Okay, let's see. Okay, wonderful.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so So what I would like you to do is just grab the person next to you and have a go, because it's interaction, and you've got time now to say take 5 minutes or something. I mean, you can see that that wasn't very long to do, and just see if you can find one of the muscles there. I mean, it's easier, obviously the arm muscles are easy, and see if you can just practice it and see how you feel, and we'll come back in say 10 minutes and we can finish and you can ask me questions and things like that. How does that sound? And I can watch you.
We've got some questions, Hugo. Hold on.
Okay.
Paula, did you have a question? Suzanne?
I was going to ask Hugo if you could put the table back up, which showed the muscles to test that linked to the chakras.
Oh, you don't have that? Yep, I can do that.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else got anything they want to ask Hugo about this before we go? You have to talk to him through this microphone, that's all.
Hello, Hugo. Sorry, I'm not sure if I saw you putting anything in pause lock as you were working on the person.
What I put in pause lock was my hand in the chakra.
Right, thank you.
So I just put my hand in the front. At the first one, I put it in the front of the chakra, put that in pause lock, and that corrected. It's a bit like, when you challenge a neurovascular or a neurolymphatic, if you hold it and the muscle tests strong, then you know that's the correction you need to do. But as you need both hands to test the muscle, so you can, I just find it's easier just to pause lock my hand in the chakra and then test the muscle. And if it tests strong, whereas the second time, the front didn't show, but the back showed.
Thank you. That makes it really clear. Cheers.
Good.
Anybody else got any questions before we have a practice? Right, let's do it. Okay, has everybody had a chance to try that? We've got lots of amazing work going on here, Hugo.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I'm going to spin you around a bit so you can see everybody.
It's just such a bummer I can't be there.
Is this the way to balance it? Christina is asking. It seemed to work, so we'll take that as a yes. It was the way.
If everyone can take their seats again, please, and then Hugo can continue. Thank you. I think that's everybody back, Hugo.
Okay, awesome. So any questions at all about that? How did you find it? Anyone want to comment on their experience of balancing or correcting?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I was the person who experienced the balance, and it made such a difference, and it seems like such a simple technique, and I think it'll be a fantastic tool to add to the repertoire. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I am negotiating with the IKC. I want to donate this material to the IKC because I feel like, you know, Touch for Health has given so much. And so later in the year, I'll be going to Canada with Sharon Donaldson and maybe into Missouri with Christine McGough. And we'll be like putting it in a way, we're going to sign a contract so the material will then become a part of the IKC, and then all Touch for Health instructors will be able to certify to teach it and integrate it into the work. So that's my aim for this work. And it just got kind of, you know, the pandemic slowed things down. And because I did present it in Bali in 2019 and in Malibu in 2018, and then we got the pandemic soon after. So, so this is the third time I presented at a conference, and so hopefully you'll be able to next year be able to go, for anyone who's a Touch for Health instructor, go and certify to teach it to your students as well. So that's my aim for it. So thank you for the feedback.
Could I just ask, could I just clarify the correction? Is it when you put your hand in front of the chakra and then do the muscle until you get the energy change, and then you touch, then you reconfirm with the muscle, hoping that it's then a strong muscle? Is that what you're doing? Were you just putting your hand in front of or the back for the yin and yang bits? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah. So I was putting my hand in, say, when I put it in the, I put my hand in the front of the chakra in the first example, and then I put that in pause lock, or as they called it, circuit retaining mode. And then when I tested the muscle, it then tested strong. So it's basically you're challenging the correction like you do with other correction techniques. And so once that showed as the correction technique, then you would like hold your hand in front of the, pulse the chakra with your hand as the way you're, as a correction technique. Bit like, when you run the meridians in Touch for Health as one of the correction techniques, running the meridian. So it's a bit like that. You're actually physically stimulating the chakra like you physically stimulate the meridian when you run the meridian. So that's what it is. So the front, internal emotions, the back, external situation. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Hugo. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, Hugo. It's Paula. It would be really helpful, like in the manual, it doesn't actually give us the notes or the protocol, just to have us. We've just got a lovely introduction and picture of yourself.
Okay.
with some blank notes for us to write, and it would be lovely to actually, as part of the conference, to have this actually step by step written down to use going forward, because seeing it on video hasn't really come across. If you saw it live as a proper demo, I think it would be a lot clearer. So, is there any possibility of actually getting that step by step sent to the people from the delegates?
Sorry. Obviously, I overlooked that. I do have something somewhere. I'll find it and I'll email it to the KF, and then they can distribute it to the attendees, like as a PDF or something like this.
That's great. Thank you, Hugo. Does anyone else have any other questions for Hugo?
Hi, Hugo. It's Rosemary here.
Hi, Rosemary.
I've got a new client who's got motor neuron disease, and I had felt I wasn't just getting to where I wanted to go with her. I haven't actually done any chakra work, and I'm pretty certain that she will be open to it. Her left arm is very much is affected at the moment. So I would imagine it will probably be the throat chakra that will be, and I'm just really interested, but I just wanted to know as well if you had any other thoughts for somebody. And obviously I know, the diagnosis, etc., and prognosis.
Yeah. Well, motor neurone disease is tough. It's, because kinesiology is an energy, we're working with meridians, chakras, mudras, and things like this.
Yeah.
And, where that is a physical condition, I always say with these kind of things, kinesiology will give the person the best possibilities with what they have, whatever that is. So, I think with this, you'll find, or with any kinesiology, this is just one part of it. There's kinesiology so broad, and there's so many techniques out there in schools, and people are coming up with new stuff all the time. Is that you'll find that with whatever you use, that you'll give her the best possibility, or your client the best possibility with what you have, and whatever that is. So
yeah, there was just, as soon as you just spoke about the motor nervous system and the chakras, there was just something happened in my body, and she was in my head. So
Yeah.
I think there's just something there for her.
Oh, it sounds
Thank you
like
very,
it.
very much.
Yeah, because you know, when something like that comes in, like, oh, this could,
Yeah.
so quite possibly this could really help your client. And after all, that's why we do this.
Yeah.
That's our goal, is to help our clients, nothing more.
Absolutely. Thank you so, so much.
No
That's
worries.
brilliant. Thank you, Hugo. If everybody could give Hugo a round of applause for your appreciation. Thank you.
And I'm so sorry I couldn't make it there, and I'd love to. So I promise, I will try and come to another one. I've been wanting to come to one of your conferences for many years, and it's just never worked out where I've had the time free. This time I did, and the German trade unions had another idea for me, and so I'm stayed here.
Oh, well, thank you. We appreciate your time and joining us from your hotel.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Hugo.
Okay,
Cheers.
bye-bye.
Thank you.